Hey guys, I'm Sarah Crisp, and I am a creator of Building Cathedrals Girls Ministry. And my dream for this ministry is for girls to build their lives on Christ. And some of you may be wondering, well, what age are you targeting? And I would simply say early teens to early 20s. Wherever you find yourself in that particular age bracket, this ministry is for you. We meet weekly in Northern Kentucky, a couple times a year. We meet in 6-week group settings. So we'll meet in September for 6 weeks and then January for 6 weeks. Some of you may be wondering, what exactly should I expect from a live session? And every time we sort of get together for a 6-week group, we have a theme. It'll be practical, I promise, because I am all about the why. Why do I need to know this? And the practicality of what we profess as faith. It's a practical faith. If you are like a type A go-getter, I'm going to show up for week 1 and I'm going to go through all 6 weeks because I want the most of what God can give. And then I promise you, you're going to have this beautiful puzzle piece. And if you can only come to 1, 2, 3, whatever weeks, you're still going to gain wonderful truths and practicality for your life. So this is typically how the groups are set up each week. We have 2 hours together. We meet from 6:30 to 8:30, and we meet at a beautiful quaint coffee shop in Florence, Kentucky called Velocity Bike and Bean, which we are so grateful to be a part of. We get to support the folks over at Velocity, and we encourage you to go back to Velocity and grab a coffee with a friend on another day or night. So when we first get there, we have a bit of downtime from 6 to 6:30. You can get coffee. But right at about 6:30 we start, and we have a message, and that lasts typically about a half hour, and then we split into small groups, and there's questions that you can answer in your small group, and this is basically just a time for you. We know that girls like to talk, and we want to have that space for you, and it's a non-threatening, non-judgmental place. And then after small group time, we'll have some worship time. Sometimes we'll flip-flop that. We'll do worship then small group, just depends. Been very fortunate to have wonderful worship leaders. It's a very acoustic setting. We just have a singer and a guitarist. It's just very simple, but we know that lifting up our praise to the Lord is so important, and it's really special when it's a very intimate setting like that. And then the last part of our group time, roughly the last 15 minutes or so, is prayer time. We just get in a circle and we just either kneel or stand before the Lord, and we ask for things that we desperately need. We've had many wonderful, authentic requests answered in our times together, and some we still ask for. But it's just a beautiful thing to pray for each other and to remember that when we go home, there's people that really they need our time in prayer, and it's a reminder of how vital that is in your life. So that's a little bit about how our group is set up, and it's a wonderful group of girls. One of the things that I tell people when they ask me about this ministry is how I am amazed every single time we meet how honest and vulnerable girls are. And we're just real with each other. I think it helps that I'm pretty honest about my walk with God and my life, and I'm also extremely passionate about Scripture, and I think they can see that you have extreme hope for anything you walk through when you are walking with Christ. And it's about taking these steps now. It's about building your life on Christ brick by brick through every season. And He is making you a cathedral. He is making you a cathedral. Some of you may be going, what in the world does this name, building cathedrals, mean? And I get people that ask me that in the most sincere way, and I'm so happy to explain it, because it's a very beautiful description in it for me when I first read it. But I started reading about, in the Middle Ages, how they would build cathedrals in Europe. It took many years, well over hundreds of years, some of them, depends on how intricate they were. And I read about cathedral builders often never saw the completion of their work. And I thought to myself, wow, that's sort of what I'm doing. I'm building into these girls' lives, but they grow up, they move for college, or they get married, or they go to different walks, and at some point they age out of the group because life changes. And so I never really get to see in full the completion of that cathedral. And that is what God does in all of our lives. And He brings in people that build into us. And of course, He gives us Christ to refine that process. And so that's why I named it that. We know that a cathedral is a church, and we are God's church. And then I found this amazing Bible verse that says, you are God's building. And we are His cathedral for His glory, and to allow Him to shape us and mold us, teach us how to build our lives on Him. We will be not only effective in whatever calling He gives us, but we will be beautiful, shining beacons of light and hope for a very dark world. And that was what a cathedral was. It was beautiful, and it let the light came in through the stained glass. And there was something else that I found really intriguing about the stories of these cathedral builders. Many of them spent much of their life on areas of the cathedral that no one would actually physically see. It would be either behind walls, or in corners, or in balconies that could not be seen by human eyes. It would even sometimes be covered up. I read that they were extremely precise in making it beautiful, because ultimately the person they were building those places for was God. And they were just as specific and timely, and they put as much importance in those areas of the cathedral as they did the areas that you would see, that anybody would see. And I found that to be really interesting, that God sees our work. He sees our time, He sees our tears, He sees our planning. And ultimately, that's who we work for. I say to Him, it's just a simple prayer, but I say, today, may the work of my hands be praised to you. Because I don't want to just offer things for my own building up, but it's, here it is, Lord. Here's what I have. It's only what you've given me, God. You've given me all these things, and I give it right back. And so that's a life of living a cathedral life. So that's kind of where the name came from. I hope that helps clarify a little bit, because I know it is a different name. And now is the time. Now is the time. You can build your life on Christ. You should not wait.